welcome to Paper Mache People, your safe space when the world doesn't make sense. You're joined by my co-host Eileen and myself, Misha. Coming up on today's show, we will discuss how learning a new language demystifies the ones you already know, and how we lost our voices when we couldn't express ourselves amongst our peers because we were still processing what they said 5 seconds ago. But first, what's going on in the world, Eileen?
Earlier in the year, Donald Trump was threatening to ban TikTok in the US. What happened was that a bunch of American kids started to flock to Xiaohongshu or Red Note, a Chinese social media app. And I actually created an account to just take a look at what was happening at the time. And there were so many young teenage Americans who were uploading like shorts of themselves saying hi to the Chinese community. And the Chinese community was just really like warm and welcoming in the comments. And some of the Chinese content creators were making videos on how to speak basic Chinese. And actually Duolingo, the language learning app, recorded like a 216% growth in their Mandarin learners as compared to like their other languages. Like Spanish, for example, only grew like 40% compared to the same time last year. So there was a huge thing that I don't think Donald Trump expected, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think it felt a bit good that despite all these fighting on the upper levels, like people were still being interested in each other's culture, and one party was trying to get into the other culture and the other culture was really welcoming despite all the politics going on.
Yeah.
So I think that was really a warming sight.
And we're making friends in adverse times.
Exactly. So, well, English is still like the most spoken language in the world. Chinese, Japanese, and Korean have always been in the top 10 for the past 5 years, according to Duolingo. So it's really useful to be able to speak some Asian language.
Yes.
So yay us, we share.
Thankful for my parents who sent me to Chinese school.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Misha, both of us were really brave. We moved to countries that spoke languages that we didn't speak or didn't speak until we tried to move there. How was it for you, and how did you become so freaking good at French? Because when I saw you in France the last time, you were like a native. That's insane.
The first realization I had was that everything I learned in class was kind of a scam because the teachers I had were enunciating very clearly and no one in real life speaks as clearly as the teachers, and I couldn't understand what was going on. And also that everyone was speaking twice as fast, which made it incomprehensible for me in the beginning. I ended up doing was just kind of standing in a circle of people when they're talking to try and learn to decipher what was being said. And then all of a sudden people would start laughing and I was like, what's going on? Why are people laughing?
Are you laughing at me?
It's like, look at her just standing there. Yeah, so it was really tough. I think it really made me feel like socially excluded. And there are some neuroscientific experiments that show that this type of exclusion actually really hurts. It activates the pain areas in the brain.
Oh, wow.
So it was tough. Yeah, it was really tough.
Oh, no.
And eventually, I could understand what people were saying. But by the time I caught on to like what was being said and had prepared my sentence mentally, people have already moved on to another topic.
I can totally relate with like preparing the sentence in your mind before you let it out.
Yeah. And then it really gave me a feeling of what's it like to not have a voice in one's life, be it like, you know, just between your friends and family in a more informal setting, or to not have a voice to show what you stand for in like politics or work.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I felt really stressed out at certain points when I could convey what I was thinking, like to a certain extent,
Yes.
but not nuanced enough to convey what I actually mean. You know,
Yeah.
nuances is so important. You don't realize it until you try to say it in another language that's not your main languages, and you find that once like a sentence is out and you can't really fix it into the way that you actually meant it, then it's up to the other person to interpret what you just like, to take it at face value.
And there's also no time, right? Because people are not going to listen to you fix everything.
Yeah, and sometimes they even fill it out for you because you're like taking too much time to form a sentence, and then they give you like few options, A, B, C, which one? None of the above.
Then you'll see who really knows how you feel.
Yeah. Some people get it right most of the time, and some people don't. I've had conversations with people and they like totally go on a tangent, like different from what I was trying to say. And then I had to reel them back in, like, no, that's not at all what I'm trying to say.
One of the things that I really hated when I still kind of dislike is that when you find yourself in a situation where you're invited to like a holiday or like a friend's house for dinner, and all of a sudden the conversation switches from English to their native language, and then you're just kind of excluded for the whole evening basically, and then you're just kind of sitting there and it's like, okay, what am I doing here?
But isn't that kind of rude, to be honest? Like if there's someone who doesn't speak the language and it's not like a too big setting, then wouldn't the group decide to speak the minority language if they're all able to do so?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's been my experience in like French-speaking areas and German-speaking areas of the world where they would just rather, because they're more comfortable or they're more used to it, to speak to each other in their native language, despite the presence of someone who doesn't understand. Unfortunately, that was also very painful. And now that I'm learning German, I'm experiencing all of these things all over again.
Yay!
Hopefully, I'll see the light of day sometime in the future.
It's almost as you seek out this pain.
Oh man.
But I'm also going through the similar thing, kind of. So I'm nowhere native with my Japanese, but I can go by. I use it for work all the time. And I think working in a Japanese firm has made me improve a lot more as well.
Oh, yeah.
And just when I feel like I'm getting somewhere with my Japanese, then I'm like getting pressure to brush up on my Swedish. My husband is Swedish, and we're thinking of like having children in the future, and we would want the children to speak Swedish and Mandarin, and we'll make them polyglots from young. I'm doing like Duolingo every single day. I actually have like a 378 streak on my Duolingo.
Wow.
But obviously doing Duolingo is very different from actually speaking it in real life. Because I had the biggest fail the last time I was in Sweden. We were at my husband's mother's place. We were staying up late and talking into the night. And I noticed that my husband, Marcus, he was like getting a little bit sleepy, like yawning and stuff. I wanted to ask him if he wanted to go to bed. So you would say that in Swedish, vill du gå och lägga dig? Instead of lägga dig, I said, vill du ligga? And that actually means, do you want to have sex?
Oh no.
And compounded with the fact that I said that in front of his mother. It was so embarrassing. They literally rolled off their chairs when I said that. And the next 5 minutes was training me to say lega and liga differently.
Marcus should have said, okay, wife, let's go.
Exactly. I'm sure his mother would have found that super amusing.
Not so amusing if you accidentally do it in Malaysia though.
No, very haram.
Yeah. This kind of reminds me of when I was taking French lessons. We were talking about food and like healthy food and not so healthy food. And I was saying, yeah, like cat food is not so healthy because there are a lot of preservatives. And the teacher looked at me and she was just kind of staring. And I was like, okay, what's wrong? It turns out preservatives in French means condoms. So I said,
What?
canned food has a lot of condoms in it.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's the same word as préservatif. So it's actually like, it just sounds the same, but.
I didn't know canned food contains a lot of condom. Another thing that I found very stressful in Japan about Japanese is that there are so many different levels of formality. And
yes.
when you start learning Japanese, you typically start with the standard form, which is a little bit stiff when you speak to like family and friends, but a little bit too informal when you speak to customers or at a workplace. So the standard form that you learn starting out is not really useful in either cases.
Yeah.
And then when I started working with Japanese customers, I would not know how to step up my formality when I'm speaking to them. Now I'm a little bit better with it. All the formality comes at the end of a sentence usually. So I never knew how to end my sentence nicely at one point. For example, if you want to tell a customer like, oh, okay, I've uploaded these files or I sent these files to you via email so you can take a look at it later. Like the most basic form would be like, 後で確認ください. And it sounds a little bit too in your face, like you're ordering the customer to do something. One basic measure of formality, if it's too short, then it's too informal. It has to be very long. It has to be a lot of faffing about. So what I just said, 後で確認ください, literally means like later check it. But if you want to say it nicely to the customer, then you would say 後ほどご確認いただければと思います. It's like super long. And it means later, I hope to receive your confirmation, I think. So
I think, I'm not sure if I want it.
Yes, exactly.
It's also funny, like I realized that when you were going to the more formal version of your sentence, you raised your voice by a few pitches up.
Yes. Because in Japan, you have to speak like this. You have to feel a bit submissive so that the customer will be nice to you. Yeah, and with Swedish, you have to do the reverse. I have to go like down like this. Otherwise, people think I'm a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, I do notice that like I also lower my voice down when I speak French.
Do you? What is it for though?
Because people just generally speak in a lower tone. I'm not sure if they're born that way or they speak in a tone that is lower. So I also lower it to kind of match their tone. Otherwise, my voice is a little bit too pitchy.
What you said about born that way, like some Japanese women, I am seriously like astounded when I hear them talk and they speak like at this level. Does anyone start out in life speaking at this high pitch of a voice? Like
it might be learned as well, right? If you're always surrounded by people speaking in that register, you've never tried it yourself to lower it down, then you might not know that you have the capacity to do so.
Yeah, but it's insane because in Malaysia or any other country, as a matter of fact, if you hear someone speaking at that voice, like it was just like, it will turn heads. Like, what's that
wrong?
person speaking like that? Exactly. What's that anime voice coming from behind of me?
Like anime voices, just voices. They're not like super
yeah,
pitchy.
they're just voices. Yes.
Interesting.
No. Something else that is super interesting is learning languages. It has opened up a new world for me to be able to speak to people that I wouldn't have been able to speak to, and also to consume their media, which gave me a very different perspective in life. However, learning French has ruined the charm of this language for me. Because growing up, I think also in like the English speaking world, French is just sexy, fancy, romantic and sophisticated language. When I started to understand French people and to hear how they actually speak in daily life, the charm is completely just gone.
How do you mean?
When you talk to friends, it could be teachers, or at the administration, at a counter, you ask them a question, they go, or like, bah. It's like when they're thinking, the filler words are just so ugly that you're like, okay, what happened to this person? You know, she looks so beautiful. They look so professional. And then all of a sudden you're like, like, bah.
They sound like they're belching or something. I had like too much onion for lunch or something.
Yeah, so now it's kind of ruined, and I don't actually think that it sounds nice anymore. And furthermore, like a lot of fancy sounding words in English are just everyday life words in French. So in English, for example, a country's cuisine is something like authentic and special to the place and like defines the culture. And cuisine in French just means kitchen.
Oh,
literally.
So everyone has a cuisine at home.
Yeah, everyone has a cuisine at home, indeed. Learning French also kind of ruined the magical words in English where you don't really understand where the etymology of the word was from. At least I didn't. Words like assiduous or insouciance.
Ooh, fancy.
And when you learn French, you just learn these words literally means hardworking and no worry.
And people use this day to day?
In their daily life, yeah. Learning French also kind of demystified a lot of medical terms. In biology, you would learn about like the front and back rostral caudal. Rostral means like beak or nose, and caudal means tail. So if you're literally seeing beak and tail, then you know where's the rostral side and where's the caudal side. But if you don't know it, then you have to actually memorize the meaning, right? And to try to make the link that this means forward, this means backward. I realized that scientific language actually in some European person's language in the past, they're just using their everyday words like Greeks calling cardiology heart studies, you know, literally means heart.
Yeah, so heart surgeon is like, I'm a cardiologist. You're a heart studyist.
So it is helpful to learn some languages to make everyday life simpler. But it does ruin the fun.
I mean, there's always something magical, like you said, when something sounds a bit
exotic,
exactly. And it feels like there's something special about it. It's like how you told me when French people say it's a little bit je ne sais quoi. Something about it. It sounds so fancy. But what does it actually mean? Tell us, teacher.
It just means I don't know what. There's a little I don't know what. And I was like, okay, sure.
No, you've ruined it for me too.
The process of learning languages can be quite confusing and also quite annoying at times because they sometimes make things a little bit too complicated, in my opinion.
Such as?
In German, when they say it is 3:30, they don't mean that it's 3:30. They mean it's 2:30.
Ah, yes.
So instead of saying like it's 3:30, it's before 3.
They do that in Swedish too,
which I really had to get used to. And like there were times when I was like really don't want to be late to class or like to miss things because I was like, okay, wait, do you mean 2:30 or do you mean 3:30? I don't know. When it comes to numbers,
that's just weird.
It just gets even more complicated because in French and also in many European countries, they have this system. It's called vigesimal, where they count in multiples of 20. So in French, there's no word for 80, but they say 4 times 20. And then it gets even more complicated in Danish.
What?
Because in Danish, instead of saying 420 plus 10 in French to mean 90, they say 5 halves.
Huh?
And 5 halves is half before 5, which is 4.5 times 20.
What?
So 4.5 times 20 is 90.
Oh my God. Are all Danish children like math geniuses or something?
I don't know. And the thing is, they only say the fraction. They don't even say times 20 anymore, right? Because times 20 to them is implicit because they count in 20s. So
Oh my God.
threes would be 3 times 20, which is 60.
Why do they have like base 20 or something?
Yeah, they do. They do have base 20, which is very interesting. Surprisingly, it also is in some other cultures that were not in contact a long time ago, in essentially in every continent where humans lived. One hypothesis is that they count in base 20 because they counted their fingers and their toes.
That makes sense. You have a perfectly good set of toes.
But how do you show your fingers and toes to someone?
Well, if you don't wear shoes, then it's possible. But it's a little bit difficult to flex them, to be fair.
Yeah. So numbers is just a mess. Until today, when I talk about numbers, it's a lot of mental energy.
I heard that Danish children are one of the slowest to start speaking because their language is just so complicated.
Yeah. Some German friends of mine get 49 and 94 confused in English because in German you say 4 and 90. So the 4 comes first.
But you know, now that you mentioned that, I happen to be reading Sense and Sensibility now. It's like written in the 1800s, right? And the author described people's age as like 3 and 20 for someone who is 23.
Interesting.
Maybe English has changed over time as well. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
So for me, the really annoying thing about Japanese, apart from the formality thing, is that sometimes when you go to like a supermarket, they're basically telling you the same things, but they have so many different words for it. So when I first came to Japan and I didn't know daily life words, I knew like complex words, but I didn't know daily life words, like plastic bag, for example, because nobody's going to teach you how to say plastic bag from textbook. I knew how to say like a bag. It's like fukuro, which incidentally sounds like an owl. So you could be saying you want an owl. But then the cashier would always use different words for plastic bag. So they would say rejibukuro, which is counter plastic bag, binirubukuro, which is literally plastic vinyl bag. Do you think you learned those and then, okay, I have it covered. I know all these words now. And then someone throws at you, tesage bukuro. And it's like, no, what is this? It's like hand carry bag. Okay. Yeah. After you learn all that, and then sometimes you want to get like a paper bag, and then you'll be like, shit, what's the word for paper bag? And then it'll be like paper bag. So then why couldn't they have just an plastic bag?
That is hilarious.
So inconsistent.
I think one of the difficulties was also that they don't understand why you don't understand. And then they're like, what do you mean you don't understand?
Yeah, exactly. Because like the back and forth was going fine up till that point, and then it's like,
Cue the French.
I wonder what would happen if I did that to Japanese cashier. It's like, お手下げ必要ですか? They would freak out.
It's like, what happened to this woman? Is she okay? Can we call the ambulance?
The case just now was like too many words for the same thing, but then they also have too many meanings for the same word sometimes. For example, chotto, I think the most basic meaning, the first meaning that you learn in the textbook, it's a little bit, but I think Japanese people have kind of abused it over time. So now it's acceptable to use it as a refusal. So if someone asks you like, oh, do you want to go grab coffee? And then instead of saying like, no, I'm busy, or no, I don't want to, they evade the rejection by just saying, chotto.
And you have to do it in this raspy,
exactly.
voice.
You have to look like you're physically in pain, and you have to shrivel up a little bit. Chotto. And then that's when you know it's like they don't want to do it. So if you go to a restaurant and you ask for a table, the the people at the shop may do that, and then that means that they can't serve, like give you a table. But it's really funny how they need to look like they're physically in pain when they reject you, because that's like the social norm, I guess.
Yeah. Meanwhile, restaurants over here, if they're full, they're like, we're full, and just walk away.
I have like culture shock when I go outside of Japan, right? Like these days when people are just like, oh, we're full. And I'm like, oh,
what do you mean?
You could have just be a bit like Choto. Like, just be a little nicer. Choto yasashiku. Yeah. And another word that they overuse is a lot of young people use the word yabai. I think it's almost like the word shit in English, because shit can mean good things, it can mean bad things. If you're a cool kid, then you say like, oh, kono mise yabai, like this shop is yabai, meaning that this shop is really cool or like really hot or something.
Yeah.
Great. Or then you can say like, that person is yabai. Then it's like that person is a bit dodgy, sketch. So it's really up to your interpretation. It's up to your like context, because maybe if you say that person is yabai, you could also mean that person is hot. So it's really context based. Choto yabai, a little yabai.
For today's trivia, we'll be discussing what people mean in their native languages when they say different expressions and phrases.
So what does it mean if a French person says, don't look for noon at 2 p.m.?
It's something that has already passed and won't come back?
It means don't make things unnecessarily complicated, because you cannot find noon at 2 p.m.
Okay. Interesting. It's not difficult, it's impossible. It's not complicated, it's impossible.
And this I find super cute.
In German, when they say you have put on some grief bacon,
what does that mean?
A grief bacon? You went through something bad, but there was an upside to it.
So grief bacon is the weight that is gained from emotional eating.
Wow. That's a cool one.
Your guilty pleasure ice cream. Some people's grief bacon.
Aren't Germans like the ones who have words for everything?
They're very literal, yeah.
Like every single nuance situation.
A vacuum cleaner is a dust sucker.
Oh yeah, it's the same thing in Swedish.
Yeah.
Dammsugare. Yeah. I don't know. The Swedish people are very literal as well. What does a Japanese person mean when they say you have a cat's tongue?
Does it mean that you're very sharp with your words and your words would hurt other people?
It just means that you can't eat hot food. So if you like drink a soup and then you're like, oh, it's too hot, you have a cat's tongue.
Aww.
Okay, guess which one means like a hamburger? Is it a hamburger or is it a hamburger?
I think it's a hamburger.
Ooh, good choice. It was a hamburger.
What does a hamburger mean? A handbag.
Hamburger is
it a handbag?
Well, a handbag is a hamburger. It's different. Hamburger. This is a ga, and yeah, it sounds like a handbag. It actually means a Hamburg steak. So it's the hamburger, just the pate without the bread.
Oh, I see. Slight nuances in the sounds.
Thank you for tuning in today's episode. If you'd like to share your experiences learning a new language, connect with us on Instagram or TikTok at papermache.people. And don't forget to hit follow on your favorite podcast app, and you'll get a notification as soon as a new episode drops. Bye!